Hi everyone, Steve Wyss here, and I'm joined as ever by Kevin Harper for the latest T20 World Cup preview. And here we are for Wednesday's fixtures. First one, 5 a.m. in the UK. It's a 3 p.m. local time in Hobart. Scotland versus Ireland, a real home nations clash with a bit of spice to it. Scotland had that great win against West Indies. Ireland come here on the back of defeat against Zimbabwe. So are you looking forward to this one, Kev?
I am, Steve. Yeah, I am looking forward to it. There's so much on this game for us, isn't there? Before we even talk about the game, there's already so much on it. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
As always, we're starting with the weather forecast for Hobart for Wednesday, and it's going to be a lot warmer than the first day we had matches here. A balmy 18 degrees compared to, I think, 11 or 12 it was on the Monday, but it looks really well set. In fact, the whole weather looks well set now for the rest of the week in Hobart, actually. I mean, will a bit of extra heat, will that help sort of batting or bowling or what?
Ball will certainly fly further, won't it? And also, the outfield might not get as damp. That might be significant, but I'm certainly looking at that weather, and I hope the Met Office have got that right for Friday because it was meant to be Armageddon, wasn't it? And now it's going to be normal, so that's encouraging. Yeah, warm temperatures, all good. I mean, it's still only 19, isn't it? So still pretty English and Irish conditions.
Right, yes. So let's move on to the teams then. Scotland, I mean, you flagged them up at the start of this tournament. We've backed them at 25-1 to win the group. So if they win their next two games, we're cashing in on a very, very juicy winner. And I suspect that you think that this game is probably the easier of the two that they've got. But Scotland were mightily impressive against West Indies, weren't they, in game number one?
Yeah, they were. I don't think anyone can say that they didn't deserve to win. I'm a little bit disappointed with the West Indies coach's comments about their unprofessional batting. I think Scotland bowled really well and forced them into batting like that. You know, everyone seems to want to write Scotland off. I kept on reading how it was such a surprise that they beat West Indies. Well, anyone who's listened to this podcast all week will know that I wasn't particularly surprised.
You certainly won't, but the bookmakers don't rate them either, it seems, again, because Ireland are the favourites. Coral as short as 1.61. Is that where your money would go? No, I know that's where your money certainly wouldn't be going. But I mean, we were talking. We both expected Scotland to be favourites for the game, slightly. It's the other way around. I mean, this doesn't look right, does it?
Yeah, I didn't expect Scotland to be favourites because I've bet on cricket for so long. I would have them favourites, but I always had a feeling that the bookmakers would make Ireland favourites. For some reason, Ireland are really, really well fancied in these tournaments. They're just not a good T20 side, Steve. If this was a 50 over contest, then these odds are absolutely spot on. But it's not. It's a 20 over contest. And, you know, we saw all of Ireland's deficiencies, but we saw all of Scotland's strength. They can bat well, and their bowling is just really good. There isn't a let out in their bowling attack, whereas Ireland, as we saw, they've got a couple. So, yeah.
What are Ireland's biggest problems, would you say,
I think
in a
Ireland's
match like
biggest
this one?
problems. Yeah, I think Ireland's biggest problem is the form of Paul Sterling. I flagged that up right from the start. Lasted 2 balls, and it was the exact same dismissal each and every single time. When a left armer swings the ball in, he's got a gate that's as wide as anything. Okay, he was a bit unlucky for an inside edge, but that dismissal's been happening in the Blast, in the 100, and in the Caribbean Premier League over the last 3 months. There's too much analysis now, Steve. Anyone will have watched that. Those 3 tournaments are all on television. Anyone would have watched that, and they're all going to tell their left-arm bowlers, pitch the ball up, get it swinging in, and you've got Sterling. And if you get Sterling from this Ireland side cheaply, the rest of them don't half struggle. He's really their talisman, the one they look up to get them off to a flyer. They actually pushed up a pinch hitter, didn't they, to number 3 on Monday. He must have had ants in his pants because he was all over the bloody crease. And I don't know what he was doing for the ball that bowled him, but he was nowhere near the stumps, was he? It was just a shambles of a batting performance from start to finish. And actually, the only time that it really looked any good was when the fella at number 10 came in and started smacking it all around the island. It was just, but that is Ireland. It's their batting's a problem, and their death bowling is a massive, massive issue. They actually bowled well at the death on Wednesday, but still couldn't contain Zimbabwe.
Yeah, you mentioned that Sterling's form is like a telephone number. There's that many single digits in it, and I guess you're hoping he kind of can get a bit better in this game, because we've got a bet which involves Ireland in the first 6 overs, and that is Ireland to score over 45.5 runs. So we don't want Sterling out for a duck in this particular match, do we? Because you would hope he can contribute quickly.
Yeah, no, we don't want him out for a duck. You're absolutely right. We should say that there aren't many markets up at the time that we're recording this. By the time I write this match preview up on my website, there'll probably be a few more markets, so there might even be a bet on top of this. But this one looks really secure to me, Steve, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, there is no left-arm seamer for Scotland, so that dismissal is out of play. The only left-armers that Scotland have are both spinners, and I don't think Sterling will have as much of a problem with the ball going away from him as he will coming into him. Obviously, any ball that goes away from him, the chances are they're not going to hit the stumps. Therefore, he can swing the bat with freedom, knowing full well that if he does miss it, then he's still going to live to fight another day. So that is one thing that I expect Ireland to get off to a bit of a flyer here. These two sides do play each other fairly regularly. It's pretty much an easy matchup to make up. So whenever they're struggling to get a game against the big sides, they can play against each other. They've played 6 T20s in the last 5 years. Ireland have scored big in all of them. They haven't won all of them, but they've scored big in all of them. They've scored over 175 in all of those games. They haven't always got off to flyers. Sometimes they've done it at the end. But I think they've got to come out with a batting intent in this game, because not only do they need to win it, they need to win it fairly well, because they need to get their run rate sorted out, don't they? There is every chance still that weather forecast might change back again, in which case net run rate's going to come into the situation. They don't want to leave it in a situation where they win this game, but they don't win it by enough to get into second and then watch Friday's games get washed out. So they're going to have to give this a good go. We've seen with their bowling attack, they're going to need an awful lot of runs if they're going to win this. So I fancy that they'll get going from the start. I wonder if Scotland are going to change their way here, Steve. They opened with Mark Watt, didn't they, against West Indies? Now, that worked because West Indies obviously want to come and bash everything out of the ground. Ireland don't necessarily want to do that. So I wonder if they'll open with seamers, which will probably help the run scoring and probably help Scotland maintain their sort of pressure later on in the innings. And the other reason why I like this bet is the ground dimensions we saw in that game, in both games on Monday. There's a small ground, pitch is good, boundaries are accessible. And really and truly, if you just break this down, we're only looking at 7.5 runs in a power play. We're only two fielders are outside of the circle. So, West Indies put up 50 odd against Scotland on Monday in a game where they didn't really play well. And I think Ireland can do similar here.
Ireland to score over 45.5 runs in the first 6 overs. That is a 3-unit selection. Before we leave off, let's just have a quick look, as we always do, in the top batsman market. And let's start here with, who should we start with? Top batsman. Let's start with Scotland. And Muncy got himself 60 odd, didn't he? Was it not out actually against the West Indies?
Yeah,
the opener there.
He batted all the way through the innings, but he didn't field, did he? They asked him in the interview after the game when he picked up his Player of the Match award how his injury was, and he was a bit suspect about it. So you kind of hope that he's okay. We certainly do for all the Scotland bets that we've got on. But interestingly, if he's not okay, they're obviously going to have to open with someone else. Now, Matthew Cross has opened before, but if they wanted to go for a like for like in terms of the way people play, Callum McLeod could be that one at 11-2. So he might be worth chancing at a brass.
Yeah.
But if Muncy plays
game time decision, definitely check out the team sheet.
Absolutely, yeah. If Muncy plays and opens, you'll fancy that he's too good still. Having said that, he would be going up against Josh Little, wouldn't he? And that's the Irish bowler you don't want to go up against.
Poor Sterling, the favourite for Ireland to top score. I'm guessing, I mean, that's a huge risk, isn't it? The form he's in. But at the same time, if he comes off, no one else in that lineup. Didn't I say earlier that literally it could have been anyone who top scored for Ireland? I mean, we had an 80-1 on Mark Adair. He's 46 for this game. It'd be just like him now to clobber a late 30 odd, wouldn't it? Just despite us. But
I mean, there is some value there, isn't there? The fellow who came close,
McCarthy 100-1.
Yeah, I mean, he came close to top scoring, didn't he? It was
Yeah,
Camphor who actually did top score, and he's 18-1 batting at 5.
yeah,
So, there is value there. And obviously, if you look at the West Indies game against Scotland, Jason Holder top scored from 7. So, he could do a lot worse than back Camphor at that price.
definitely.
Whether he can do it twice in a row would be open to debate. But yeah, you're right to flag up McCarthy. If Ireland falter again, it wouldn't take an awful lot for him to top score.
Would you know what? If I was like the coach or the captain, I'd be bringing him up a couple of notches on that. I mean, he came in at 10. Why not bump him up certainly to 9 or 8 and 100-1? He hit an incredibly good 6. He can definitely biff the ball. Anyway, just that one pick then on Ireland over 45 and a half runs in the first 6 overs. We're recording this, like Kev said, a little bit earlier than normal, so not all the markets are up. Do check out Kev's website at Kevsat Sports Bets. Closer to the time, there might be some added on bets, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting one on Wednesday morning. Hopefully, from our perspective, Scotland get the business done. You think they're going to win it, Kev?
I do, yeah. As long as Munsey's fit, I think they'll be fine, yeah.
All right. Thanks very much for watching. Do hit that like button if you're watching it on YouTube. Take care. We'll see you very soon.